Hello everyone, welcome to the Internal Regulations Proposal explanation video. In this video I will explain what led us to the changes in the regulations and our train of thoughts when writing them. Later I will also propose some additional things that should be added, that could be added to the regulations, and but need a bit more of a discussion in person, so in a GAR that is not online. I'll try to be brief, so this minute doesn't get more than an hour, 2 hours long. And so yeah, let's start. I have here a small content document. So first is what led us to the changes. This was the main reason was ACCESS'19. The previous GB proposed in the GAR, in the GB workshop, to propose the representatives to give like to make a few analysis of the old, so the current internal regulations, and the comments that came through from that were fantastic. Like so many good ideas, so many things that were wrong. So I understand there when running for president that we will need to change the old regulations, and these would need to be done as soon as possible. So IACES could focus on growing. So we did this in order to clarify our way of working, especially the GB tasks and objectives. So you don't have more years where people don't know what the GB is actually doing. So we have a lot of documents to clarifying this for each new GB, and also making it easier and more accessible for newcomers to understand IACES. We get a lot of questions how IACES works, and so we knew that we liked the comments, we liked a few documents. So we did a lot of documents and added them to the regulations to understand, so newcomers can understand better IACES. The way we done our work was we initially in February we started adding all the comments from ACCESS GAR and the GB workshop to the old regulations. I'll show the document in a bit, and then we added our personal views to the documents. Then after all the comments were done, we use them to edit the document and create a draft of the ideas. Then we discussed with a few LCs that will be greatly affected by some of the changes, to check their opinion, and if they agreed with the changes that were going to be proposed. And the ones that did not agree, we worked together to come to a consensus, so everyone is happy, so we don't have to worry about those particular tasks in future GARs. And then after the LCs commented, those LCs comment on this, we add the alumni that worked on previous versions of the regulations and statutes in the new regulations in 2015, and the status with the alumni that were here like in the beginnings of this century and of IACES, to check their opinions, and their expertise here was very important to make us see how we had to change a couple of our proposals because they are not agreeing with the statutes of IACES. And for that, I added a small thank you for all their time, because well, they have their families and they are working and they have sons and daughters, so the time they spent looking at the work of students was really valuable. So thank you, alumni that worked with us. Later we chose the format for the document and send it to public analysis for everyone to be able to comment. So now we will have the internal regulations and attach the document analysis, and then we'll see the further additions to be discussed in our next in-person GAR that are here. Yeah, I did a small notice that, well, having in mind that nothing is final, so that's why I'm shooting this video, is because I wanted to understand what led us to the changes. But if you don't agree with some comments and some articles, please send us your idea, fill the forms that we made available, and also in Wednesday meeting, after we fill the forms, please do both. We can discuss them, and there is still time to change them before we put them to vote in GAR. Like that will be probably Sunday because it's the last thing of the agenda, the internal regulations votings. Very well. So let's start with our analysis. So I will open these two documents, so old and new, side to side, so we see the main changes. Yeah, this is in yellow because it's still not adopted, because everyone has to approve them before. So here we see the first main change. Now we have a contents chapter, a contents list. This list follows the general statutes. So about the association, IACES members, according to the statutes, the LC and the CP. You'll see that OG is not mentioned here because OG is not in the general statutes, but the OG conditions, which is a condition of being a contact person, is also on this text. IACES bodies, which is the General Board, the ABC, and the Press Center. The Press Center is a new name that we propose for the coordination center, because it's something that the coordination center have been working on. They are being the press center of IACES. So we propose a small change of the name, and we'll get to that. Then another body is the GAR, is a body of IACES, but we had to, of course, create an own chapter for the GAR due to its importance. We have the agenda points, then we have voting in the GAR, that's where we announce like the number of votes for each LC, each participant, and then rules of transferring votes. Then we have our main events, ACCESS, MTM, and ISEC. ISEC needs a bit of, it's just initial regulations because we need an in-person meeting to discuss better ISEC and to write these regulations together. Then we have hosting IACES events with participation fees and IAFs and some norms about accepting, denying, and applications and cancellations, because it's something that always happens. So we need to be protected against that. We, the LCs that organize events. And then partnerships, that was also missing. And then other, which is additional regulatory documents. I will start by quickly going to this last one to give you a heads up of what will appear here. So let's go here. So here we added some documents that are mentioned through the general to the internal regulations, but well, before, like we created some of these documents through this year, and they were not regulations, they were not official. They were official, but they are not. It's like that difference. So by adding this chapter and this article, we made possible that they are official. So any change on them will also be in need of a vote by the GAR, and I'll give you a small heads up of each of them. The ISEC regulations and the logo regulations are still not, ISEC will not be done until the in-person GAR, like I said, and the IACES LC logo regulations, we'll talk about this in a bit, but it's still not ready. Then these documents are the ones that should be elaborated by the IACES and the bodies and members of IACES each year, and they can be the same as previous year, but some should change, which is this GB goals list, an annual financial report, GB annual activity report, LC's contact list, and I did a repetition here. I will change before the last version. Then the newsletter information requests that can be changed when requested by the coordination center here or press center, if you guys agree. Also type. And the IACES status analysis. This is the document that we will introduce this GAR, which is a compilation of every status report that we received from the LCs, and we received them all. And that will be able to place IACES to see how IACES is growing and our numbers and all of that. So these documents, I'll have them here, which are, well, the formal procedure. We'll go back to here. Also, I added a revision history. So anytime in future GARs that there is a revision of this and the GAR approves, the second version will be, the date will be here, or the event, and the person, so the president that leads that change and the contact. So anytime we need some version, we can contact these persons, and also the changes recap on the documents. The same for this, the official procedure to host IACES events. I created this because it was going to be a year with lots of events, and in order to not repeat information to every LC that was hosting an event in the spring, created these documents. Unfortunately, we only were able to organize part of those events due to the known global situation. So these are a lot of tasks as like deadlines, both for LCs and for the GB. Like we have like 5 days to approve the preliminary schedule and financial reports. Some things to do during the event, and when to open applications, when applications are closed, a few months before the event, like arrival, asking for departure flights and arrival flights, sending invitation letters, which is very important for people who need visas to enter to participate in the event, and things to do during the events also. Then after the event, also there's something like the newsletter info request document, which is something I will show now. And then general norms. At the end, you also have the revision history. You have all these. You have these documents on your email account of your ELC. Newsletter information request. That was a great idea of LC Belgrave, this year coordination center of like doing a newsletter for each event and making the templates the same. You will receive these newsletters soon. It will be our surprise. I must say that they are impressive. So these documents, some of you may already have seen it through the year. It's if you organize an event, it's the information that you have to send and how it will look when the press center, coordination center or press center puts it into the templates with photos. So you send this text, and this text will go into here, and the photo will go here, like this. So lots of norms. That was a good thing to always have a catalog of all the IACES events, and this will be very good to see in like a few years. You'll be able to have a newsletter for each document, for each event, which will be a great thing to do, like a memory lane thing and going back. Stephen is the coordination center responsible, and again, thank you for your work and elaborating this document with you. So now we have also the goals list, which is something that will be able to clarify the duties of the GB, and this is for me one of the best measures started this year. So after a few weeks after GAR, the new GB must send this to each to the LCs. So a goals list with what they will do, what they want to do, and then at the end, at ACCESS and at MTM, we'll have an analysis of this goals list, and the GB will say, okay, we did this, or we did not do this, or why didn't we do, and how did we do? Just a way to clarifying our tasks. And then also mentioned here twice is the LC contact list, so public contact list. So every LC member that wants to communicate something with IACES is able to have their contacts of each LC contacts, and we'll update this each year if they change. Also, the responsible representative or president of each LC, and their contact number if you need to contact any LC in particular. Okay, this is a heads up of the documents. Let's start our actual regulations. So in chapter 1, you will see a big introduction that everyone will want to comment probably, which is, so we added that, so this is a nuance, the LC IACES logo can only be used for purpose of the association, and we added this. So this will be our proposal for an LC logo unification. You'll see our presentation in the GAR about this. We'll show every LC logo and why we are proposing this. So a circle of stars, IACES name and the name of LC written on it, a symbol of a local landmark, and be coherent with IACES logo regulations. This document will be elaborated soon with the regulations that are approved. So we'll have to have a norm for the LC logos, and even if we don't agree with how it is written here, we'll have a norm for like sizes and how LCs should send it like with PNG format and dimensions, yes, sizes. So this will not depend on will depend on what we agree for this guy. Also, we know that there are a few LCs with great logos that do not follow these standards, and for those, we would like to announce that we will not make them change everything and go to these norms. These will be norms. We will advise, of course, the change, but these norms will be for new LCs. So new LCs that come will have to follow these norms, and our old LCs that have great logos and may not follow this, they will not have to change. Very well. So in LC activity criteria, we changed a small thing here. So we added the number of, this was like proposed in the GAR, we increased the number of local activities that need to be done to 2 local activities and 1 international event approved by the GB. So events that are not approved by the GB, like events that are international but like are not even IACES, are part of other type of civil engineering association, they will not be counted on it. They need to be IACES events. And then for 4 local activities, that was something we discussed in the GAR. Then here we changed the word of different things to make it more clear. So in every 3 years, 1 international event activity with more than 2 LCs from different countries must be held. It's an important thing because we are an international association. Then this is will be included. This is the this was an inclusion, which is the LCs must lose their IACES logo, not the logo of other associations that you may be part of. This is really important to grow IACES and to show our image, and in order to be counted for the minimum of events stated here, that this logo must be on the promotion materials. This is very important, guys. Then LC's logos must be in accordance with the rules stated in chapter 1. This is, of course, sending you to chapter 1. Okay, LCs cannot be absent from the GAR more than 2 years, which is 4 GARs. That is a very good number. Every LC, this is the same, and we all did. You all did this year. Fill the status reports and send it to the GB, and the GB will use it to create the IACES status report presentation in ACCESS. This is the new presentation. We will start this year, this GAR. Yeah. the IF must be paid by the LCs, and then jump to the sector of the IAF. And if this LC does not comply with these clauses, it will be automatically demoted to a CP with under observer group conditions, like we are using it. These changes will be announced by the GB at the subsequent CAR. If an LC does not comply with this, you'll have to announce that it will be demoted to an OG. And now that demoted LC must follow the OG criteria and the CP activity criteria in order to be able to be voted again to be an LC. So it'll basically become another new group trying to join IACES. So here we simplified this, and we sent people to become an IACES local community procedure. A CP then can obtain, so a CP is our member. Once it starts the procedure, at a certain point, the CP can become observer group, can obtain observer group conditions when he has 3 students and when that association is approved by their university. They can become observer groups, and they will, according to the general statutes, they will obtain 1 vote at the CAR, and they'll be eligible then to be voted into an IACES LC. We will need, of course, to approve that in a CAR and vote them into us, our family, and they will have 2 years to do it. So the moment they get OG conditions, so the moment we receive this and the GB sends them an email saying you are a CP under OG conditions, they will have from that moment 2 years to be voted into an LC. Otherwise, they will lose their status because all these generations will pass. So they will go back to being just a CP, which is just a contact in just an email or a phone number in our contact list. So something for us, like if you want to send mass emails to CPs, we'll be able to use that contact. But if they, like after those 2 years, want to run again for LC, they will have to start the process again. Yes, of course, they have to prepare a presentation, and yeah, only at the CAR they can be voted into an LC. Some general advices: IACES local regulations and GRID, GS, and IR. So this is just a recap of what is on the main document here. And so the demoted LCs, I think I said, we'll have to start on this condition, and we'll have to show proof of a new board. And they will have 1 vote. So all of that, and then we'll have to approve them again for the demoted LCs. Not eligible to host ACCESS, MTMs, and ISEC, both CPs and CPs under OG conditions. CP under OG conditions as 1 vote, yes, stated. And CP members, both CP and CP under OG condition members, are not qualified to apply for the GB or be elected as the press center or coordination center. So now we can go to IACES bodies. So this was basically put together in one, since observer group is in a condition of contact person. Also, if you can notice that all the CP and OG and GB and ACCESS, all these acronyms, I think it's the name, we also described them. So we always say General Board and then GB, and then we started to use General Board, and then we started to use GB, and also ACCESS, and we say Academic Congress, MTM, like that. So everyone knows all those small words that sometimes people are like confused what they are. new people. So that's part of clarifying for newcomers. Now, like, what is the GB? Okay, now we got to the IACES bodies. This was a big change. Like I said, I wanted the GB tasks to be clear and to everyone knows what the GB is doing. And this is something that you understand after you are a member of the board for 1 year. Like last year, like I was vice president. Like you see that some parts you work a lot, and LCs do not see what you are doing. They not see your work. So for this year, like I wanted to change that. Wanted to show every LC that we are either working a lot or like not doing anything at all. So there was a working group created with one representative for each LC, and so we can keep communication with everyone. So this is a general and more formal ways, and the main difference is here. So the GB tasks, as you can see, the old tasks were like 1 sentence or 2 sentences, 3, like they were not very descriptive. That would create some confusion when people would apply for the GB. They knew that they wanted to keep something to IACES, but they didn't know where to apply and what to do besides treasurers and secretary that are more like simple to describe. So here we created tasks for all the members, and these tasks must be executed during the year, but they are only a recommended division. So like I stated in the end, those tasks can be delegated to other GB positions. So if the guy responsible for sponsor seeking wants to, and the Secretary General wants to do the sponsor seeking, the new GB can discuss between them and change this task to the other role. Also, yes, we changed the names. We propose a change of the name. Vice President for Finance and Administration. This guy will be responsible for the IAFs and finances of IACES, because IACES is in a situation where the finances work is not very hard. We don't have a lot of sponsors, and the IACES accountings are simple. So we join them with administration, which is basically administrating IACES events and calendar and activities and ISEC. There was an initial proposal that we were discussing between us, GB, that was increasing the GB from 5 to 6 members. And this finance will be separated from administration. But after a long discussion, we agreed that it was not the best option, and to keep it as 5 would be the best option. And in like 5 years, as IACES grow, if there's a need to increase the GB, people will be able to separate finance and administration. I hope we come to that in a few years. So, President organize the GB meetings that are communication within the GB, conduct the GAR, the goals list that you have seen, and yes, to be shared with you in the first month, and the GB's activity report, and to present it on the GAR, on each GAR. So MTM and ISEC, MTM and ACCESS, the president must present the activity reports until that point, and the annual activity report in ACCESS, and also in the MTM analyze the GB goals list. So Vice President for Finance and Administration, yes, IACES events and events calendar, very important to not have sub events like colliding with each other. Coordinate ISEC, so responsible for ISEC, and work with the final stage host to make everything perfect for the ISEC participants. Compile IACES event reports. So this is the new document that is the compile the IACES event report, which is a document with that will be done with host LCs, that will be documented with the finances of the events. So if there were losses, the problems, like if there were cancellations, speak about the IAF claims and all these problems related to organizing events. Promote IACES event activities internally. Annual status report. Now this one is the new status report of IACES as a whole that will present this car. And IF claims and financial reports like the treasurer, and submit for ABC review like the treasurer used to. Vice President of Marketing, very important. We live in times of marketing. Our image is as important of our way of being. Updating social media accounts, managing IACES brands, doing a plan for, this means doing a plan for posts each week. That's something we don't have someone that responsible for doing, even though there is this sentence in first vice president, the old one. Now we need someone that is only doing this, only doing content for IACES, and then regulating the work of the press center. This means working with the press center on their new tasks that we'll see in a moment, and update the content of the IACES website. This is not programming. This is just like if we need to change some text and add new events and information. It's easy. You will see soon. You can add the content if you are the vice president of marketing. External affairs, another very important task to be held only by one person, with the main objective of promoting IACES behind the association, and develop and maintain the public image of IACES, the image that goes outside. Seek prospective LCs. Someone that will only be doing this for a year is really important for us to contact every student association that there is and try to bring them to IACES. Keep track of the contact person's progress of becoming IACES local committee. So the paper that we saw, we need someone to keep track on the developments on it. Seek and maintain links with other associations. We'll be like an IACES ambassador with other associations, very important. And sponsor seeking. So sponsor seeking is hard. With our media, we'll be able to also get some money through this. I've talked with the other alumni from the boards. It's something that they always try, but it's something very tricky because we are simply too big. We are everywhere. We can ask for European money and commission money like other smaller stations do. So, but this is a good point, a good thing, because we are everywhere, and we are like a true international association. But this will be also something, even if it's in terms of ads in our website and in our media, that's something we will have to try, and someone will have to be responsible for trying. The Secretary General, of course, will be the guy that will control our work. Will be the guy that will oversee what we say that we do, like oversee the minutes of the GB meetings and the GAR, manage internal communications, so update the annual LC contact lists, the contact lists these contact lists, and create and moderate the different working groups. So you guys know that if you need to change your representative, you speak with our Secretary General, sorry, and you'll be able to add it. And communicate to the GB decisions with the LCs, also important. So every of our thing that we do can be quickly communicated with the LCs, and then bridge the gap between this GB and the other entities, such as the press center and the alumni club and the account verification committee, AVC. This is important because there are meetings that should be done, and the Secretary General will be able to, okay, no, the GB has this time available, and you'll speak with them, and we'll be able to set the meetings. You'll be able to contact them and set meetings for us. More things here. The GB has 1 year mandate. elections occurred at the GAR held during access. This was already stated, but it was only stated differently and more clearly. And also we added this precision like promised in the GAR, unless decided otherwise by the GAR or agreed by the GAR, each GB candidate can only run for a single position. So the GAR will be able, if another GB, if a GB member loses when applying for one of the positions, and if the GAR agrees, they can rerun. If the GAR does not agree, and you'll not be able to rerun. So after each, then this is the way of this is the way of conveying information. So when a GB leaves, sometimes when a new GB comes, even though if president was from the past GB, there are some tasks that are left behind, things that people forget to say. And so things that were at the middle during the previous GB and then will simply disappear on the new GB. In order to change that, and especially now that the tasks will be more precise, so marketing, media, external relations, it's now that we have a point that each GB leaving office must provide the replacement with a document recapping the current situation of their works, unfinished business, and reminders for the year's mandates. Also that. Yes. Also that on this meeting, the meeting should be documented and the minutes archived in the respective folder. So so public, if anyone wants to see how this meeting went, all the information was conveyed, what was changing from past to present GB. They can request the minutes of these meetings and the documents. So the documents stating the current situation of the works. GB members must be present at every GAR. This is already here, and one GB member must be present at ISEC's final stage. That's also important. Then the GB is responsible for managing IACES funds and description of spending, always and discretionary spending, while always closely controlled by the ABC. And this is a new task that I mentioned on this GAR, and we wrote into the regulations that I hope that you agree, is that IACES, if IACES accounts are favorable, the 5G members' participation fees can be paid when attending a GAR. So we can use the funds of the IACES accounts to pay for the participation fees of GB members on going to the GAR. When pursuing this option, the GB must contact the ABC, right now Luna Oliver and José Calejo, that in order to have a final confirmation before using. This is important, like, because we need to. It's not a need, but GB members work a lot, and their participation sometimes they don't have the funds to go to every event, and like their work in a way should be recompensated if the money held through the year and that IACES is making makes that possible. If IACES has no money, obviously we will not use those funds to pay for the participation fee, only participation fee, because paying for flights we are very far away from even for being able to do it. So only participation fees of the GB members, which will account to 150 per member. That will make almost 750 euros per member per GAR, which is a lot of money. So future GBs, in order to use this option, will need to work and to gain money to use this option. The ABC, just a clarification of the ABC. Trelawney suggested after the new GB election during GAR, if no LC. I have a typo here, and so this will be all reviewed before the final proposal. So As you can see, there are no like English grammatical errors. We have an editor look through the regulations, but this was something I added before, after that editor. So basically, 3 alumni, the ABC is to be held by an LC according to general statutes. But if no LC wants to be the ABC, which is common, and the 3 alumni must be chosen. We would want to change the general status to be always 3 alumni, because they have been doing a great job, and they know they have known many GBs, because those alumni are always Luna and always Loliver, and they know many GBs, so they will be the right persons to check the finances and also to agree when pursuing this rule here. Now we'll go to the press center. This is our proposal for the CC, the coordination center. The press center, no PC, because PC is not a good acronym like ABC and CC. So the press center only is responsible for the following tasks, which is organizing information from IACES events and producing their respective event newsletters in accordance to the current version of the newsletter info request document. So these documents that I've showed before, in the beginning they can propose changes to this document, to the GB, and we update it, and we have this document only for that full year. The producer of IACES Reader and Magazine, the official annual publication of IACES. This is still not regulated. It will be something, a task for the future GB to create a document with all the procedures and deadlines when creating these IACES or reader or magazine. That could be something great, because every time people are finishing their studies and doing thesis, a small article could be added from each one to the reader magazine. And then, since we have all the event newsletters, some parts of that information will be also go to the magazine, and we'll have a great annual publication, and way easier for the current press center / CC to elaborate, because starting from 0 is very hard. So this regulatory document will be something to be added to that list in the end soon. I have at least one representative of the PC met with the GB every month to report advancements on their tasks. This is important, especially when working on IACES Reader Magazine, because it's something that the PC will have to start from very early. So they are elected, and as with the GB at ACCESS in October. In November, December, they should already have like a plan for the IACES magazine in order to be able to present them during summer and during the next ACCESS. So a meeting each month to see their work is very important, and also the vice president responsible to speak with the CC and to check, regulate their work will also be in contact with them more frequently. Now we go to the GAR. There are small changes here. So first we did it. We created a better way of presenting the information. This is a very important task that we added here. So approval of the minutes of the previous GAR. So in ACCESS, we always check the minutes of MTM ACCESS, of MTM GAR, and we'll see, and everyone will say, okay, I disagree with these minutes because it's not like that, or everyone will say, okay, I agree because those are the minutes, and should be written if the people do not agree with the minutes, and they can request a new meetings document of the previous GAR. Closing of the GAR, yes, and like this, and additional GAR agenda points. Okay. Okay, very well. So here we added a small. We described a bit better what each thing is. I remind you that this is not. You should not. We suggest these names, but future GBs and the president, who is responsible for the GAR, can choose different wordings and can change the order of these items. But they should be present because they are essential for the work of IACES. So presentations of IACES status reports to be held at each access. This is the new document that will do this GAR. The GB annual activity report as done. Adopting the annual activity report. The adopting is the confirmation by the GAR that the discussion and confirmation of the GAR of this document. So if anyone says I do not agree with this activity report because you did not do this and you say that you did, or I don't agree because you forget to mention that you did this, can happen, and should all be written in the minutes of the GAR on this adopting section. Annual financial reports, analysis by the ABC, and again adopting like we used to have. Reports of the press center activity, showing newsletters, showing what they did, as in point 9. Election of the new LC hosting the press center, election of new GB, election of the new ABC and the host that will organize subsequent access, and then the presentation of an ISEC recap of the next year, an analysis, and the election of the current year ISEC final stage hosts. That's something we did on the past GAR. It was not regulated, but now it is. Then we end with both to ratify new LCs, so to formally approve new LCs. If there is a need, it's not here because it's not obligatory. We will announce the motions of LCs. And then vote to changes in the internal regulations. It's always the last part. So time must be well controlled on this, and we will try to make some regulations for time spent in each of these in order to everyone to have time for changes in internal regulations. But also, I hope that after the approval of these regulations, we do not need to spend so much time that discussing the regulations and voting to change them, and we'll spend that time creating more tools for IACES to grow and discussing how we can grow. So then on MTM's GAR, the differences. We have the GB's activity report and goals lists. So instead of only the annual activity report, we'll analyze the activity report until that GAR and the goals list presented a few months before. Adopting the GB's financial report until that point, press center report until that time, and the LC that will host the other MTM, check up on our ISEC local stages, the ones that are already being done, and the presentation of the ISEC final stage by its hosts. So the host of the final stage, that will be in July, like 4 months later, we'll have a small presentation here in the formal way of the GAR to see how the developments are being done and what LCs can expect on the ISEC. Again, these two like before. So voting in the GAR, we added here a copy of the general statutes in order to be more accessible for everyone. SCP under OG conditions has 1 vote, and the LC has 2 votes. GB members have 1 vote, and no other GAR participant is allowed to vote. And particularity is that special IACES agreements may have a different numbers of votes associated. And one example that everyone knows very well is Annex Mexico. They have 50 LCs organized into one national association. So it's a great. It's more than fair that they have more votes. Now, transferring of votes. Let's go to that part. What is it? Okay, transferring of votes. Well, this only had a small phrase. We added a bit more rules to make it more formal. LC can send a representative to the GAR, has the right to carry, that cannot send has the right to carry a transfer of votes to another LC. And they have a criteria to follow if they want to do it. Must be present at least once in one of the last 2 GARs. So in 1 year, we reduce from 1 year to 2 years. So if your LC skips 2 GARs, it can transfer the votes in those 2 GARs, but in the 3rd GAR that it skips, it can no longer transfer. And in the 4th GAR that it skips, it will be demoted, yes. And we have the rules for it. A formal request containing the following elements must be sent to the GB and the receiving LC within a minimum of 1 week before the day of the GAR. GARs are usually at Wednesday, so the Wednesday before, the GB must receive that request, just to be something that the LCs are like have in mind if they cannot really attend. Some cases like cancellations of flights and or someone gets sick, this rule can be reduced a bit until the weekend that the people are supposed to travel but cannot travel. The LC was supposed to travel but cannot travel. So this can be agreed. That letter must have the following elements, which is a president name and signature of the LC, the logo of the LC, and the receiving LC name, and the corresponding text stating the intent of transferring the boats, the text. Yeah. An LC cannot receive more than 2 boats transfers. If an LC gets like so many boat transfers, it gets a lot of power, and so in order to keep things more like divided and even, the curve even, they cannot receive 3 boat transfers, so more than 2, and the 4 boats transferred, they cannot. Also, to keep things truly international, boat transfers cannot be done to LCs of the same nationality. Let's keep things more international. And then we have our main events. The texts are very similar. Texts are very similar once per year between October or November. In October or November, that's a good, like here, March, between March and May. So March, April, and May. Before that, it's too close to other events, or it's too close to our finals periods, so must be taken into account. And also, the date should also be, like in the document, should also be approved by the GB. So the GAR meets. This is stating that it's like here, but written in a more formal and precise way. And we changed the name of this GB workshop that must be organized every GAR to IACES workshop. Why? Because it was not our workshop, it was the workshop of IACES. IACES is, you are IACES, and IACES, you are working for IACES. So it's IACES workshop. So it's just a clarification of things. As a suggestion by alumni that was greatly accepted. Now, here is the minimum of time that LCs hosting the host LCs or of ACCESS and MTM must follow and must include on their schedules, which is there is a minimum time required during the week for these 2 activities, and which is 1.5 days, which is 1 day for the GAR and 0.5 to the IACES workshop. The GB can request up to 2 mornings and 2 afternoons also, which will be 1 day for the IACES workshop and 1 day for the GAR, or 1.5 days for the GAR and 0.5 for the workshop. The GB can request that if they know that work on that GAR, on that ACCESS or MTM will be long and important, they can request that. Also, if agreed with the host LC, they can even request more time. So 3 days for a GAR. Imagine that. That will be great. So LC host is elected on the current GAR, and then for more procedures on the following organized access, please read the hosting ACES event documents, like I presented before. ISEC is, these are only a small regulations that need to be better worked, especially these documents. And for that, since ISEC is something that I find very important for the association, something we should do together in the GAR. So now we added ISEC to the regulations. Everyone knows that exists and it's part of IACES. But we still need to prepare these documents. Will be something that I hope the next board will do very quickly, the next GAR will prepare. But regulation is already here, and or to formalize. Also, new things can be added after the next car that should really focus on the ISEC to make things like clear and to help future organizers and participants to make it easier and make it every year. Okay, then we have a big change, which is the participation fee. In order to make things more simple, and because the difference between fees A, B, C, and D, from A to C to D, for the 200 euros fees, the difference was 12 euros and a half. So 12 euros 50 cents from A to D. So like that, it was only confusion because host LCs needed to do 3 different types of fees for those 4 categories, then for alumni 4 categories, and then for other type of alumni more, again, 4 categories. So we propose to do it like many other associations do. We remove the difference between people. We keep a standard fee for everyone, alumni, and it's something, thankfully, they agreed. Alumni that finished, that are no longer students and have less than 10 years of experience, they will pay a bit more, like 1.15% of the standard fee. If the fee is 200 euros, that will be 30 euros more. So it is something, it's something okay for someone that's already on the job market. And then alumni with 10 years, more than 10 years of experience, so the old guys, they will pay 1.5 more, 1.5 times more, because something alumni were happy to agree, because they should be like, we are the students with like saving every euro, every money. So they that can already work, they should be the ones that will help the host LCs with a bigger fee, so the event quality can be even bigger. Participation fees financial reports should be approved by the GB before the fees are announced. This is very important because sometimes we like in these 2 years, we received participation fees financial reports that were like not good, fees were too high, and together with the host LC, the GB could work to reduce the fees, to find sponsors. So this is very important to measure added year. Then the IAF fee, we will fix it every time at 5 euros. Before that, every GAR, access GAR, the GB will have to, okay, 5 euros, everyone agrees, everyone would agree, so it stays 5 euros. Now there is no need to it, there's only a need to agree on an increase or a decrease. If the GB thinks that that they want to increase or decrease these 5 euros fees, activity fee, they can propose it at the GAR. Otherwise, there's no need, and it's 5 euros every time. Every IACES LC and every international event hosted by an IACES LC and labeled as an IACES event must be subjected to the IAF. So every event that is counted as an international event in the status report must be subject by an IAF, to the IAF. This is very important. There are some LCs that have events, international events, that are not being subjected to the IAF. They are being said that they are IACES events. So we should all be the same. If some LCs pay, every LC should pay. So this is something that needed to be written. And I think it's everything here. Yeah, when paying this fee, like that it must be done until 1 month after the IAF claim, which is a document that the treasurer, or now vice president of administration and finance, sends, which is the claim, and after 1 month it should be paid. If the LC cannot do it, should send a formal letter to the GB stating when they can and why they can't now. Then this is for the helping LCs dealing with the accepting or denying applications part, and also with cancellations. This will be a quick rules. It's the responsibility of the host LC to accept or deny applicants. That must be said. When going through the process, LCs can request a proof of attendance and can request up to 3% of the fee paid in advance until at least 3 weeks before the event. So they can say, okay, you apply to these events, but if you want to have your place confirmed, you have to pay 30% of the fee until this time, and only that we'll consider your application. This is important because sometimes we have applicants from LCs that we do not know, and they like so LCs are counting with them, but sometimes they do not appear, and there are cases of this every event. So it's a very big loss because the accommodations are paid already. It's a very big loss for the LCs. So they can request for this percentage of fees in advance, and also proof of attendance, like the travel tickets. If people bought travel tickets, the LC gives the okay, and an application validation for the LC president. So when it's an event, it's applicant from an LC. Host LCs can ask for, okay, you need to send me a letter from your LC saying that you will come and accepting responsibilities if you don't. That's something to protect host LCs. And then the applicants that apply to an event may only consider themselves accepted when they receive a confirmation email from the host LC. And now the GB cannot take responsibility for cancellations. It's not in our power, but we must help both sides come to an agreement. So persons that cancel on the last minute, and the host LC that is requesting them fees, like those problems happen, and the GB must be a bridge between them and must help them come to agreement by doing a meeting, by talking to both sides, to agreeing to a fee to be paid, part of the fee, because sometimes host LCs can cancel like part of the things, but a fee of 150 becomes a fee of 70 euros that the LC lost. So we must work to agree on a way to deal with this. More information. Also again, more information is present on the hosting IACES events document. Last, we have the partnerships, proposed and partnership agreements. So here we speak about the proposal of partnerships and about partnership agreements. They are legal entities. Partners are legal entities with an interest on incorporating with IACES, and this interest is settled in the partnership agreement documents. We already have a few with ANEC, and we will in this GAR discuss and propose the approval of a new partnership with ALEC, which is the Latin American Association of Civil Engineering Students. The GB is the only entity able to negotiate a partnership agreement in the name of IACES, but however, of course, LCs can and should procure their own local partnerships with their own LC, like LC Xanti with STM local group Xanti. They can have a partnership, and LC Belgrade can have a partnership with a company that helps them doing part of the things. That is obvious, but is also now written. Partnership agreements, the IACES things, should be approved by the GAR. That's what we'll do with this ALEC partnership, this GAR. Partnership agreements are public, so everyone can request a check on those events, on those documents. Now we have the chapter that started this all. I went through all these papers. These two are still to be done. This will be done by you in the next GAR, so in 2021 in person. This will be done after the proposal are approved or agreed on, and we'll create a document. This part. They may only be updated when approved by the GAR. This is also important. These ones do not need to be approved by the GAR to be updated, because they will be done new each year, almost any of them, calls list, activity reports, and newsletter information requests, if the CC or PC wants to change it, and the IC status analysis must be done by the GB. So we have everything. This is us, where we will sign. And now I have just a quick points of something that to be done later. So additional edits on the or additions to the internal regulations. So the possibility of creating projects, that's a project will be an idea presented by the ACES members to the GAR, and you'll present the idea and ask for 6 months or 1 year to deal with this idea and this project, and you will have a small board with full of the project. So a project could be the project that IACES, that LC Cairo and LC Spirit are trying to, even though it's an unofficial project because it was still not regulated by IACES. It's something that could become a norm for the next years. Other projects could be some guy saying, okay, I have this project, I will be the project leader, and I have these 4 guys that will be X, I, and Z roles. And the project will be writing a book for IACES, like the history of IACES. And they will request for 6 months or 1 year, and the GB would work with them and get all of them help, and they will be able to work and be like part of, and will be able to present that project after the 1 year at the next GAR. So every member can do something for IACES besides. Can do something for IACES while also not being part of the General Board. And then adding regulations to the creation of motions. So motions is something that what would be very important this year. A motion would be a new rule proposed for just a small amount of time, or like a thing to run through only this year. An example of this motion would be for this year will be a motion to remove the LC's obligatory of the LC's obligatory of completing the LC's activity report criteria, due to COVID restrictions. That was hard. So this year we unofficially accepted that LCs did not fill the activity criteria, so they did not hold 4 local activities or 1 international and 3 local, because they simply could, because 1 semester was taken from us. And the motions can be proposed by anyone, so by any LC, if they have the necessary number of signatures that will agree. So the LC ACCESS'20, or let's say LC Lyon, since the accent was already used, LC Lyon can propose can propose a motion of, like, let's say, I don't know more examples, but can propose a motion of saying, okay, this year, since COVID is still being very active, we should remove and we should reduce the number of local activities from 4 to 2 during this year. And if in order to that motion to be approved by us, GB, like 20%, 40, 50% of the LCs will have to sign that motion or to agree with it, and then it will be gone, it will be approved, and we will not need a GAR to make that happen. So it could be something that is done in November or in December. And that motion will run until an end date, which could be the next ACCESS GAR. Just an example. And then this is profit and loss sharing regulations between the GB and ACCESS and MTM host LC. Well, this will be something for the future of IACES, like it could dramatically reduce participation fees of our main events. And so if an LC profits from the event, that profit will be divided by GB and the LC. And if LC has losses during the organization of one of our main events, which happens unfortunately too many times, the GB will be able to like share the loss and like pay for part of the losses and or like say, okay, we will not accept the IF for this fee. You can keep the IF in order to help with the losses. Then a more precise section for LC duties and rights and for CPs. So this measure needs to be complemented with general statute changes, which is why it's way more tricky than just changing the internal regulations, because we need to update the general statutes in the Dutch registry office. So any change to the GS needs to be updated there and needs to go through a big process in Delft. So we have to keep CPs and LCs as members because they are what IACES is and what IACES is registered as. So yes, this is everything I had to do. I think I've went through, I don't know how much time I've been speaking to. If you have any more questions, you can just text any of you can just text can just send the email to the GB. You can just text me. Together with the email I sent, there were forms for you to add your ideas to the regulations, and also besides that forms, we'll have a meeting Wednesday, which will be like an IACES workshop or GB workshop, as you prefer, to discuss all these changes and your ideas, and to discuss the replies we have from that Google Forms. So please, I hope you had I was clear enough. It was fun to speak, and okay, see you soon. And if not before that, see you at the car that we will have very soon. Okay, guys, bye bye.